Hello, everybody. You're watching the Cheese Room podcast with me, the caller. I'm back after a brief sabbatical. Coming back, excited to be here tonight. And I'm joined by Yankee Jack without the flat cap tonight. Jack, what's going on? You having a bit of a wardrobe problem, or is it just,
I think I save, my best appearance, for you guys, which is usually flat capless. And it's my other Yank form comes without a cap, without a flat cap. I think actually me putting on a flat cap is in a way me kind of limiting my full, Yankness, and probably me without it is actually my best, form of it.
Yeah.
My full form.
Will you be wearing
the flat cap is more inherently British. I think, the Americans took that from you guys. So in a way, this would be my full American form.
It's like a Peaky Blinder kind of thing, isn't it? I think. But look, it's great to have you on the show. We should be joined by a couple of other Cheese Room people. God knows where they are. So if you're a Cheese Room person watching this, send me a message and I'll invite you on the show. How's that for a deal? Let us know where you're at, where you're from in the comments. Do smash the like button. Helps us, costs you nothing, and is free. And if you haven't already subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button right now. So there's quite a big match apparently this weekend, Jack.
Indeed. It's one that I feel like we're also, maybe as each passing week was leading up to it, we kind of grew progressively less confident as it approached this upcoming match. But we'll make a good effort at it. We'll make a good stab at it. And maybe at the end of it, we'll be screaming 3-0.
Should be interesting to see what you think about it. I mean, yeah, I'm a little bit worried if I'm being really honest. Hello in the chat, Paddy. That would be me, the caller. I am back. Mark, good evening, Cheese Peeps. And Jules, hello to you too. As I say, let us know where you're watching from in the chat as we go through the show. And let us know your thoughts on what we're discussing. We will read comments out. Super chats are much appreciated. So let's get into it. Start off with a plug for our Patreon. Join us at patreon.com/Cheese Room Podcast, where all of that could be yours for just £3 a month. When I say all of that could be yours, that doesn't include Brendan. And that mug, there's a good story behind that mug because it's well, I don't know where it ended up, but it was last seen in a pub in London. And I think the fact that Brendan was so infatuated with Sandro on that night and too busy chaperoning him, he left it in the pub. So someone literally enjoyed a free mug. Maybe it's still in the pub. Who knows? Gov, good afternoon. How you doing? So the big one, probably Spurs' biggest match of the season. Spurs, Arsenal, Sunday, 2 p.m. What time does that work out for you, Jack? Is that a favourable time or not?
9 a.m. Not too bad for the Americans. Technically on the East Coast, it's the best you can get over in New York. It's the 9 a.m. You could have your choice of a 6 a.m., I believe a 7 a.m., an 8 a.m., a 9 a.m., or if you're so lucky in Hawaii, I think it would be a 3 a.m. kickoff.
Well, I mean, I've got to be honest. I am a little bit worried about this Arsenal red hot form demolishing Chelsea last time out. Let's get the team news. So the big news is, of course, there's a couple of injuries in the camp. Destiny's one of them, but of course the person we'll really miss is Ollie Skip on Sunday, Jack. So it's couple of injuries. How do you see us lining up with those injuries? I suppose the only there's two conversations. Richarlison's back, isn't he? So let us know what you think about this in the chat. Who would you have spearheading the attack at the 9 role? Would it be Sonny or would it be Richarlison? It would be interesting to get your take, Jack.
Lots of lineup potential changes. I think I might start with the defense first, just to answer that part. For me, I think there's a chance that one of my favorite and probably one of the kind of either loved or hated players in this team, Emerson, might get his shot, despite even Porro coming back into the team. I feel like he might actually play at left back ahead of maybe the many much criticized, at least over on my side of things, with Dave, the other Dave Harris, Ben Davies. I think Emerson will get the start at left back ahead of him. With Destiny Udogie out, I think what you'll need is still somebody who can at least try to challenge Saka in a more physical sense, but also be able to catch up with him really and be that sort of athletic type of fullback that can be able to match him in that regard. And I think Ben Davies is well past it at left back. I think he's done a fine service for us so far this season as a left-sided
It's a bit
center.
harsh, isn't it?
I think at left back,
has he played there this season like once or twice?
I remembered it very well against Jordan Ayew against Crystal Palace, where he was hauled off at halftime, I think for good reason. And even before that, last season, he played against Brian Mbeumo, and Brian Mbeumo made, I think, pretty much a highlight reel of him towards the tail end of last season under Ryan Mason. I was going to say, Ben Davies is a left-sided center back, different story. I think he's had a very good spell for us. I think he's helped out tremendously. Just as a left back, I think it's a whole different position, whole different task, just different expectations from what Ange wants from you. And I don't think he can really meet it at this day, or at least at this level. And I think you'll have to go with probably somebody, not a great choice, but someone who at least can, at least meet someone of the more athletic requirements of that position, getting up and down the pitch, and also just challenging Saka in a one-on-one defensive kind of a level. And I think Emerson will do a much better job at left back.
Is there a shout to put Van der Ven at left back and maybe, well, we've got a couple of options at centre back, haven't we? But is it a possibility? I mean, he's got the pace, he's got the physicality. He'd certainly not be left behind by Saka. I would imagine he's faster than Saka. So, what do you think?
I'm not totally against it, but everybody seems to think that Dragusin is just too uncomfortable on the ball, kind of as the left-sided center back, and that's what I guess would happen. I guess if you really want to shoehorn Ben Davies into the team, you go left-sided center back for him, and then Mickey van de Ven as the left back. But for me personally, we might be missing Mickey van de Ven even more if we were to shift him away from that, natural left-sided center back position where he does have that pace and he can cover for pretty much everybody in case they get beat in behind. So I think don't want to mess with that too much. Might just go with only one player to really change in the team. Don't mix it up too much. Just go for Emerson at left back. But I could see that. And then for me personally, you would go for Dragusin instead. Get a man bun in there.
Yeah, not sure about that. Dragusin for me has looked at, people have said uncomfortable on the ball. I'd agree with that. I think he's looked clunky when he's played. And I think in fairness to him, he's a young player with clearly a lot of potential. He doesn't lack pace, certainly, but I think on the ball, he hasn't looked comfortable. And I think he's a right-footed player, isn't he? He's a right centre-back. So actually, he's probably going to look uncomfortable. It's his first season in England, only signed in January. There's a lot of potential discomfort there, especially against a team like Arsenal, who can take, let's be fair, might hate them, but can take you to the absolute cleaners when they get ahead of steam. So for me, I think you're right. I think we keep Van der Ven at centre back with Romero. I just don't know. Left back's a tricky one. I don't think I'd feel comfortable with anybody there, really. I mean, I'm not comfortable.
Let's start with that one.
I'm not that comfortable with Destiny there, if I'm honest, because I know he's had a great season and he has looked very good, but he's dropped some absolute howlers in recent matches.
I don't even think Arsenal like their left back, so maybe we could agree just to start without left backs. We'll just start both with 10 men on the pitch, and they don't have to play Zinchenko. We don't have to play Emerson or Ben Davies, and we'll just start with 10 men.
Emerson, yeah, maybe. Emerson has proved he can do it before, and he does generally stay quite tight.
Solves both teams' headaches.
Yeah, true. So further up the pitch, do you see any changes to midfield or attack, Jack?
I do see Richarlison coming into the team, back into the striker's role down the middle. Something that I had sort of foreseen with Sonny. I feel like there are going to be certain games where it really does suit him to play down the middle because there will be that space left in behind. It's just nowadays, I think, with how teams will set up against you, they will occasionally put every single man behind the ball, and they'll put 5 Ben Me tree-like center backs just clogging up the middle, and it can make it very hard for players like Sonny, who would like to have the ball at their feet, like to make things happen and get a lot of touches of it. And it's not really, going to happen if you have so many guys clogging up the middle. And I think he's struggled and lost a lot of confidence because of it. It's going to be nice to see Richarlison come back in, but he will be coming back into what is probably one of the biggest last games of the season here. And that is a tough game to come back into. But I think we have been missing him a lot. So Richarlison down the middle for me, Sonny on the left, where I think he'll thrive and where I think he is actually at his best and where it truly suits him.
Mm.
And then for the right wing, as much as I don't know, like I've really warmed to Brendan Johnson of kind of the last few months. I was pretty critical of him in the first few months, but I've started to warm up to him a lot more. It's been kind of a sliding scale with me. And then, but I might go with Kulusevski to come back into the team, just because I feel like the first 45 minutes of these derbies, they can be very cagey, very physical. Oftentimes the referee doesn't even give you anything. You can just be bulldozed over and they won't even give you a foul. And I feel like someone like a Kulusevski, will hold up the ball, be able to kind of meet the physical demands of kind of the first 45 minutes. And then Brendan Johnson's probably the best impact sub of the Premier League this year. That's a superpower. So hold him off, let us use him as that superpower in the second half if we find ourselves still level, or even trying to go for the smash and go for the kill.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of BJ. I think he's done very well since he came into the squad. And, his assists and goals back that up. But I think you're right. I think he's a bit lightweight on the ball. I think he doesn't hold the ball up well. That's certainly not the case. And I think Kulu gives you absolute work rate. He's one of the hardest working midfielders in the league. I think would almost be crazy not to start Kulu at this stage. On the left, Sonny and Richie. At least we would have an aerial threat with Richarlison in there. When Son's in through the middle, there is literally nothing. And have to be honest, he's been pretty poor recently through the middle. So yeah, I'm more than happy to see Richarlison come back in, and show why he's the best Brazilian centre forward in the Premier League. Hopefully, it gives him a different set of problems to worry about. And I think the beauty of having all the players fit is you've got lots of options, haven't you? In midfield, I can see Michael here is saying, please don't start Maddison. Give Lo Celso the start. Thoughts on that, Jack?
I've been very critical of Maddison just because I feel like I've been watching every other English number 10 playing better than him right now. Like, I don't really get how he even makes the plane for England in the last few weeks, because Gibbs-White is playing out of his skin. Eze is playing out of his skin. Foden, Palmer, the list goes on. It feels like that's almost 3 or 4 that I named right there. And this is very, of course, reactionary, very sort of recency bias, but the way they've been playing, they're almost doing everything that I feel like Maddison hasn't been in the last few weeks, taking on their man, switching play, taking those kind of risks, in possession that, you're supposed to as a number 10. When you see the player make that run in behind, you do try to find him whatever way you can. And I think Maddison, for me, just oftentimes when he has a pass or when he has something that he could try, will just resort to maybe the easier pass or go for like a sideways pass or a backwards pass. Even when people talk about him dropping all the way deep back to the center backs, I feel like he'll drop all the way deep back to the center back and then just pass it right back to them instead of really going for something to get a move started. Even Luka Modric in like a quarterfinal of a Champions League, at 40 years old, I feel like is switching play more often and is trying more things than what Maddison has been. I'd still say you got to start him just because Lo Celso doesn't have a future here anymore. I think he will be out the door. He obviously isn't trusted by Ange.
Apparently, we're offering him a new contract, apparently.
I'd love to see if that ended up actually coming true. He'd be the most, I guess, liked but never played player, I guess, in Ange Postecoglou's team. He likes Højbjerg even more than he likes Lo Celso.
I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure.
I mean, he plays Højbjerg far more often than Lo Celso.
But that doesn't mean he likes him more.
I mean, I think it does. If he plays him far more often.
They play different roles, but
but anytime he's used him as an impact sub, he's gone for Højbjerg.
I'm always going to stick it with Lo Celso, for Lo Celso, I should say, because I think when he's not injured, he does offer a lot. Actually, he offers a lot of running, a lot of bite in the midfield, a lot of shithousery. In the same sort of strain as Lamela did, and he has got the creativeness. He can nick a goal. I think the thing is with Maddison, and let's be clear, I would start Maddison over Lo Celso. I think the thing is with Maddison, he's done this a lot during his career. He drops off partway through the season. I think I spoke to a Leicester fan and said, "Yep, part of the season will be fantastic, world beater. Part of the season he'll be injured, and part of the season he'll be shit." And that's pretty much what's happened.
All 3 forms.
All 3 forms. But I do think that it's just a case of coming back from a pretty heavy injury and getting back into the swing of things. And that's all it is with Maddison.
Totally.
I think he's a class player, and he'll be very important for us in years to come. But I suppose my question to you would be, who would you play deeper in midfield? So obviously we know Ange doesn't necessarily favour Højbjerg, but Højbjerg's done well when he's come in recently. What are your thoughts on our deeper line midfielders?
Well, that's the funny thing. I feel like everybody's now asking for Højbjerg, even though we know Højbjerg's pretty close to being out the door, if not already kind of has one foot out the door. And I think, should have really accepted that because he has, signed to a new agency. Just everything seems to be pointing towards that. But people have really grown frustrated with Bissouma, it feels like, in the last few games or so. I say we stick with Bissouma. It just makes more sense to try to get Bissouma, back into full confidence and back into some sort of groove and some sort of sense of that he is, somebody that can fit in the system, than get like a couple of games out of Højbjerg just for kind of the here and now. It seems like for the longer term, it's better for us to try to get Bissouma back to his best self. And a game like this, against Arsenal certainly would be a great opportunity to do that. Same thing for Maddison. As much as I criticized him, I think if he shows up in this North London derby, definitely all is forgiven. It's kind of that sort of game where if you end up being a hero for us, I think any sort of bad form kind of just goes out the window and we can all kind of look past it. But it's it's a tough one for Bissouma because he seems to be, and in my opinion, a bit scapegoated for certain things that, have been happening of recent with sort of Spurs conceding and just in possession. It seems like more people are putting the blame on Bissouma when it comes to us creating chances and, building out from the back, then putting it really on other players. And I think that can be a bit harsh. I'm going to stick with him, and I'd go for Pop Matasar just because our record is so terrible without him. He just seems to do something. We know it's obviously the work rate, but plenty of other things that he might be doing that's under the radar that just helps us win games because our record without him is really poor. And I guess we stick with Maddison. But Bentancur, I think, also would be hard done by to be left on the bench because I think he's been more creative than what Maddison has been in the last
Would
few
he be,
weeks.
though? I mean, Bentancur...
He's been better than Maddison, in my opinion.
He's not come back the same player.
I'd agree with that, but neither is Maddison, like we said.
But they play very different roles, don't they?
Yes, but maybe a game like this, when people are looking for that tactical change, people are looking for that sort of switch, Postecoglou's mindset, doubt we're going to get it. If he were to go slightly more cautious, he could go for two harder working midfielders in Sarr and Bentancur, and then also have Bissouma as well. And that would be, some very hard working midfielders that could cover a lot of ground.
I mean, I'm tempted to say stick Højbjerg and Sarr in with Maddison because the thing is you need the work rate in a North London derby. Bentancur, he's a bit casual. He does crazy things like try and dribble out from his own box. Bissouma, frustrating. What frustrates me with all these players is we started the season so well, didn't we? Bissouma looked fantastic. He could do no wrong. People were saying at the time, well, look, they've spent 100 million on Declan Rice. Look at Bissouma; he's just as good. We're very, very fickle, but I think you can see over a whole season, Bissouma has dropped off a lot, and I think let him down as well with red cards when it's mattered. But yeah, I'd be tempted to see Sarr in there and Højbjerg and Maddison, because obviously Oliver skips my first pick and he's injured. So I think it'd be interesting to see how we line up. Spurs, GCTV says, just my opinion, Vic Davis, VDV, Kuti, Borrow, Højbjerg, Benny, Madders, Sonny, Richie, Decky, bring Timo and Johnson on for pace against tired legs. And that's a fair point. If you've got Werner and Johnson on the bench, that is a lot of pace coming at you when you're tired. So it's certainly something to bear in mind. We have got options.
Definitely. Johnson, that's where I've warmed up to him. Whereas I think certain games when he has started for us, he's been terrific. But then in others, he just isn't the same player for whatever reason. It's just because he's probably young and has that sort of inconsistency in him. But what hasn't been inconsistent about him is almost any time he's come off the bench this season, he's been terrific, or at least even when he didn't play very well, still showed up with a goal and assist somehow and just got us the winners. It's just been a superpower of his so far. And Timo Werner, something similar. Like, he just contributes in the ways that Timo Weenie does. And he does have that left-footed, wouldn't call it a cross, but it's like a poke where he just kind of pokes it into the box with that left foot, and it has been effective in creating chances for us. But I think having Sonny out on the left will be much, much better for us in this game, because he does offer much more of a realistic kind of left-footed cross, I think, into the box for someone like Richarlison.
I think I can see you could make a case for any of them to go in. You could absolutely make a case for Maddison to be dropped. It's fair to say, but I think for me, hard work in midfield is going to be really important, because they're up against a very, very good midfield, aren't they? Let's have a look at the goons have been lining up. So you can see Partey and Rice with Odegaard in there. That's a hell of a good midfield, isn't it, Jack?
Yeah, and even Odegaard of recent, again, was, another example of a number 10 that I just feel like is doing things that I wish Mr. Maddison would be doing more of. It felt like against Chelsea, he played 10 through balls, like between the lines of that Chelsea back line. It was just having fun with that team. And I really hope we don't see something similar with our defense with Martin Odegaard, because when he is on it, when he is playing well, he just has that really just tricky and clever type of passing style, where a lot of times I think he actually disguises really where he's playing. Like, he does a lot of no looks, oftentimes will really position his body as if he's going to play it to one area, then sort of reverses it back the other. Just when he is playing well, when he is on form, is a very good player. And I think he was ripping Chelsea apart in that. I felt like it was 6-0. I really did lose track of the goals. I was told it was 5-0. Maybe I added one extra, but yeah, they were exceptional. But Chelsea are a terrible team, but they really did play as well as you probably could against them. They really did.
Yeah, hopefully they're maxed out, and therefore they'll need a bit of a rest against us. I mean, when you look through that team, the weak points, Tomiyasu, never really rated him, very average. He's like Emerson Royal for us, but he is. That's the level I would put him on. Ben White, I mean, he's not a right back. I know he's been solid there. I know people say he's solid, but he's not an attacking right back. I don't think he's going to cause us too many problems, and can be got at as well. So I think if you've got White and Tomiyasu aren't fast, they're not quick players. So if you've got two lightning forwards on the pitch, it absolutely is possible to get around them, which is a lot easier than going through Saliba and Gabriel, for me, who are two very good centre-backs.
It feels like Arsenal have gone for, when you look at it, a similar approach to Man City, though, where they have brought in a lot taller, more physical players into their team, where they even have that guy Kivior as the other sort of center back, left back option. Tomiyasu is still a big, strong guy who will try to bully you. Declan Rice, we know, very powerful midfielder. Thomas Partey, the same. And then Gabriel, I feel like, gets away with practically murder out there sometimes on the pitch with all the fouls that he does. But they're a very strong physical team, and that's maybe what's different to other, Arsenal teams of the past, or even other renditions of this Arteta side, is that they do seem a bit meaner, a bit more physical. Obviously, they are fine sitting back, behind the ball, and it's a slightly different, more physical side than the other ones. Don't get me wrong, still very good in possession, still very devastating. It does seem, though, that they have that slight more kind of, defensive bite to them than really in years past. And that's obviously because of the midfield, but really is because of that back line. I know I agree with you that they can be got at, but they have, they are the best defense in the league for a reason. And I think that's because they've shown to be far more resilient than other sides, or at least they're not as leaky. They don't make as many mistakes, and they are very physical. And I think that causes teams problems, or really frustrates teams.
There's two things. I mean, firstly, I'm having one of my friends is texting me saying he's a Leicester fan, poor guy. Will you congratulate Leicester if they secure promotion tonight? Will you congratulate Leicester, Jack? Are you interested in that? Anyone in the chat Are you interested if Leicester get promoted?
I heard they hate us though, which I never really understood.
It's a strange thing, isn't it? It's like an invented rivalry.
So why do they want to be congratulated? Yeah, or I guess that's part of the banter. Maybe that's the banter. I'm not sure, but
maybe that's what
if they want, do they hate us or do they love us? If they want to be congratulated, then they should, stop hating us.
Yeah. Well, look, James, Primrose, Bella, behave yourselves. There's only just remember, we beat your ladies' team well and truly. You were there. And when you look at the forward line, right? Saka, Trossard, Havertz. I mean, Saka, yeah, he's class. No. Unfortunately, there's no disputing that. Havertz, he's average. Trossard, he's all right. Meh.
I think Trossard's very good, actually.
No, I'm not having it. He does all that stupid celebration and all that. I'm not loving that. I think he's a good player, sure, but he's not worldy. He's not like a world class player.
No, definitely not.
We can beat this lot. We can beat this lot, Jack. Come on, some of the spirit of Gazza and Lineker at Wembley in '91. We can do it.
Yeah, I heard Dermot, the Irish man from THFC Till I Die, he gave a very powerful speech in his prediction, basically saying no matter how good they are, we just cannot back down. And I appreciate that. It's just they are a very, very good team. And it feels like even after they dropped the points and also had the Bayern Munich scare and everything like that, they've shown that resilience, or at least that mentality that maybe in last year that they just didn't. They at least have some resiliency about them. But don't get me wrong, form goes out the window. They're a team that can be got at. I also feel like if we do really come out the gate strong and we do try to overwhelm them and we try to grab a goal early, then it is kind of anyone's game and they will have to come after us. And if we also force them to come out of that defensive shell of theirs and they try to play more toe-to-toe to us, raise the high line a little bit more, I think that starts to suit us, and that definitely can play into our game. It's just if they grab an early goal and they can start sitting back and play with every man behind the ball, I'd start to get worried that it could kind of slip out of our hands. But very important game, and these games oftentimes, like even when we've been at our worst or when Arsenal have been at their worst, things really do surprise you, and the results often have surprised people.
I mean, look, it's possible, isn't it? Teams, we didn't really expect Villa to go to Arsenal a couple of weeks ago and beat them, did we? Be it as Villa are playing well right now, but likewise, we didn't expect to go to Villa Park and beat them 4-0, and it could have been a lot more, right? Yeah. So these upsets do happen. It's more than possible.
No, they're not perfect by no means. They're definitely not perfect, and even the fact that they lost to Bayern in the way that they had really shows that. I don't even think Bayern, as much as they are an experienced Champions League team, like they themselves are not a great side this season. And Aston Villa, we even beat 4-0 away from home. So anybody can still beat anyone. Absolutely agree with that.
Caller, let's see what you say after the game. Yeah, I might go into hiding again for another 3 months after this one. So please do smash the like button while you're watching. It really helps us out with the algorithm. If everyone did that, with double the number of people watching during the show, would be great. And I'll get Jack to send you he's a good looking lad. We'll get him to send you a personalised thank you message if that's what it takes. So
we'll get a Brendan photo. It looked like he was looked like he did like a wet t-shirt or something like that for that photo.
At this
Is that
moment,
just me?
At this moment, he'd probably spilled some beer down him. I think it's just a shadow, to be fair. But he was trying to get the tightest t-shirt in possible. That's what I will say.
For Sandro.
For Sandro. Yeah. Not for any of the ladies there in attendance. It was all about Sandro, let me tell you. So, yeah, if you look at that team then, the Arsenal team. So I didn't know this pre-reading this pack, which John has lovingly prepared for me. But it's telling me that Saka is both their leading goal scorer and assist maker. Is there not an argument there to stick one on him early doors, Jack?
Yeah, and also probably most limps per 90, I think, of any player this season as well. So definitely plant one on him. Hence why, again, for my Emerson propaganda, I would promote him in this game. Somebody who we know has a history of a red card in this fixture, but can be, like I said, more physical than I think Ben Davies would with Bukayo Saka. I could see him trying to, annoy him, trying to poke him, trying to play a bit more shithousery, like you said, kind of Gio Lo Celso style, and that could get into Saka's head. And he is somebody that will disappear in games where he can show up in the big moments, but you can take him out of it. And I think even Destiny Udogie, last time I remember, had a really good game against him defensively, and even was limited. I think he had a yellow card very early and still had a great game against him. But yeah, I think Saka, I don't even know if is this even his best season. Like, this feels sort of kind of like him at his kind of regular normal mode. Like, I wouldn't even say he's played completely out of his skin or anything this year.
He's at a good level now, though, right?
No, still a terrific player. I think still top 2, top 3 best right wingers in the league. It's just that, yeah, I don't know, like, if it's really been like the Saka show this year, or if it's been anybody that's actually really stood out for them. They've probably been more of a team than they have in other years. Like, they haven't, maybe even they've been that way for a while, where nobody really stands out totally in the goal scoring department really for them. They score a lot of penalties. We know that too. They do score a lot of penalties.
The big question is, Jack, if Arsenal don't win the league and they're not going to win a cup, right? Does Saka have to go somewhere to be a winner? You know, should he leave Arsenal to get that trophy? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he should go to Bayern Munich. That's probably the right place to go, and go to join Harry Kane in the path to real success and real material trophies. Absolutely. Arsenal, though, it would be very, very, very funny, and I'm looking forward to it, if they were to find yet again another way to play amazing football for nearly 80-90% of the season and then still somehow knock themselves out of every competition and not win a single trophy. It is kind of similar to Spurs, really, in a way. I feel like, kind of under our days of Pochettino. It's very similar in a way.
It's a North London team. Yeah. Well, here's a question for you, Jack, and you can play along in the chat. So let us know, what's your favourite North London derby result of all time? And there's a lot to choose from, isn't there? Let's be honest. Mine's got to be the FA Cup semi-final, when we beat Forest in the final, before when Gazza broke his leg. The Gazza free kick, Lineker in the side. It was just great times, and we used to win things back then. Alien to you, Jack, probably before you were born, right?
Yeah, that one is more I just see the videos of, and kind of even I'm actually kind of still post, which I think is the best goal that I've seen, but it was just slightly after I became a Spurs fan. The David Bentley one, actually, even though I never saw it in person or ever saw it on TV, that one actually I really am a big fan of, that goal in terms of North London derby goals. But my favorite result, it's more recent, but it is, I think, just because it was the most convincing, and it was one that there was actually something really significant to play for, was the 3-0 under Conte for top 4. I mean, there was so much building up to that game, and it lived up to everything that it was. And as Gary Neville says, we brutalized them in our own stadium, which is, I wish that was something I was able to witness. It felt like, to a degree, as an American, we felt something from the TV. It did feel different. It did look different.
I was there.
I bet it was epic. And so, yeah, that one was probably up there for me. A close second, actually, is that just because it's one of my favorite ever goals, is the Dele Alli flick in that cup. Does it count as a North London derby when it's in a cup like that?
I mean, I've got very low regard for the Carling Cup, the Carabao Cup, the League Cup.
It's one of my favorite goals, though.
Not a proper trophy. I mean, it's got 3 handles.
two is
cups, with
can only be 2. Can only be 2.
I just think, honestly, because it was Spurs Arsenal, maybe that's a bit better, but it almost felt a bit hollow even at the time. Like,
I know what you mean.
Putting their strongest 11 out, etc.
But that's also up there for one of the best goals ever between the two teams. Yeah, the Harry Kane hold up, Dele Alli flick, definitely up there for me.
Harry Kane's Zorro goal for you?
Yeah, but I agree with a lot of people that say it ended up being a draw. And it was at home. So that really is, that always comes back to mind.
Yeah, there we go. There at Wembley as a 12-year-old. Brilliant. Unbelievable. David says 5-0 in the 80s. Falco scored a screamer. Paddy is just a bit more, Irish, really. Any result where we beat those bastards is my favourite. Good lad.
Yeah, that's the right way to look at it. Sonny's goal as well during the pandemic behind closed doors was easily one of the best ones ever. Lovely to see that again. And we never have. I mean, how many goals outside the box have we even scored this season? I would love to have something like that again.
Not many. I think we hammered him that game, didn't Kane rifle an absolute rocket? It
was like a very professional Jose 2-0 win. Very professional.
Yeah. But the scoreline didn't reflect the dominance.
No, it didn't.
Fair to say. But yeah, it was great. How can we forget this goal?
Totally.
Danny Rose screamer. That was epic. To be fair, that was before we started googling people. Yeah. I've got to be honest. The 3-0 from 2 seasons ago at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was probably the best atmosphere I've been at the new stadium.
Everyone
probably
seems to say that.
Even more so than the Man City home game in the Champions League, which was epic as well. But that game, it was just unbelievable. It was a cauldron. It was brilliant. It was 90 minutes of absolute support from everyone in the stadium. And I genuinely think if we do that this weekend, if everyone gets behind the team, it's a cliche, but the crowd can be the 12th man and get on their backs and make it uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
For us. Every cliche. I'm going to fight every cliche at you, Jack.
Well, I could add another one. I mean, usually when the crowd is involved in that sort of regard, or at least is making it very difficult for the opposition, oftentimes you can bring them down to your level if you are the worst team. And I think we are easily, I think, certifiably the 5th best team in the Premier League right now this year. And that doesn't mean we're a bad team by any stretch. It just shows that we are an inconsistent team and we have our moments. I think we will need to, in some way, if we've completely out of our skin, maybe not, but we will need to ride our luck a little bit in this game. And we will need to try to, intimidate them, bring them down to our level to some degree. And the crowd will have to play a major part in that. So best of luck to the other David Harris, my David Harris, who will be at the game. So he will do his best job in trying to bring that brutalization.
Yeah, there you go. Recent meetings, a draw. What is it? 3 Goon wins and 1 Spurs win. So it's. I mean, that's pretty much a summary of the recent history, the last 30 years against Arsenal. We've not been on the right end of the rivalry. Although there's a period in the Pochettino where it went significantly better. But Lamella Rabona. I mean, I'm gonna give you a pass for spelling Lamella wrong, but it was a good goal. But then he got sent off, didn't he?
Yeah, that one is similar to that one's similar, not as bad as the goggles. That one's not as bad as the Harry Kane Zorro goal, but it's similar to me, where it's like, well, then you kind of remember what ended up happening afterwards.
Unbelievable goal, then probably cost us the game. Yeah. There's a stat for you. Apparently, we've never lost a home game versus Arsenal when Davis started. What does that tell you?
Shows that I'm wrong usually about most things. So Davies masterclass. Here it comes.
There you go.
Lo Celso has all our goals.
I mean, I'm a Lo Celso, I should say, fan, but I don't see that happening anytime soon, to be honest. But there we go.
I wanted to sign the apology forms very bad. I love signing apology forms for players, but Lo Celso has not given me that chance.
So here's the form. Obviously, Arsenal gave Chelsea a drubbing. Nervy win against Wolves. It wasn't a simple win. The second goal came in the dying embers of the game. But yeah, they were a bit lucky that day. Lost to Villa, then obviously stuffed Brighton and stuffed Luton. Whereas we got stuffed by Fulham. Pretty. That was generous to us, 3-0. Luton scraped past. West Ham played pretty well, I think, and we're a bit unlucky with the 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Forest, fairly straightforward. And then probably the worst performance of the season away at Newcastle. So when you look at our recent form, it doesn't bode well. But, the occasion, hopefully the players will forget about that and just turn up. Please turn up against the Gooners. There's the league table. I mean, we talk about the race for fourth, but the race for the Premier League title is pretty close. Goons on 77, but Manchester City have that game in hand, and if they win that, they are in the box seat. Liverpool, would you say they're out of it now, Jack? Liverpool?
Yep, I think you can end the whatever the Klopp parade and begin the Klopp whatever tier parade or tier brigade or whatever you call that, because I mean the way they all looked after that game, it looked like they sort of their souls had left them after Calvert-Lewin's header, and I'm a big fan of getting it launched, as why I am looking forward to Richarlison coming back into the team in some form. But yes, Sean Dyche just aerial bombardment to death for Liverpool was terrific for me to watch. From someone who likes to see the physical side of things, sometimes it was really fun to watch Sean Dyche, of all people, to end Liverpool's hopes.
I'll try and do my best Sean Dyche impression. Stay long. There you go. That's as good as it gets. And the race for fourth. So it ain't over till it's over, right? 2 games in hand. We win those 2 games with a positive goal difference of more than 5. We go above Villa. Is it still on, Jack?
I mean, if we find a way to, I guess, in these next 3 games, go for 4 points, I'd say there's still a good chance that we could catch up with them and they, slip up in some way. I have sort of ruled us out. I don't think there's any shame in that. I think we still have had a fine season. It's just that Villa, I think, do have the benefit of a much, much easier schedule than us. And I think they're in good form right now. And I'd just be surprised if they drop points from here on out. But they've been a bit like us, where even when they've had those good moments, then all of a sudden they'll lose to Sheffield United at home and, something like that. And they've been a weird team this year, Aston Villa, just like we have. Very weird team. But yeah, I've handed it to them. I don't think we have a chance anymore, sadly.
No, I'm probably inclined to agree, to be honest. I think we are.
I'd be very relieved if we got 4 points in these next 3 games. Really would.
Yeah. We'll come on to that right now. So there we go. That's a nice segue, wasn't it? So Villa have got the added complication of Europe, it's fair to say, but they've got Chelsea at home. Not an easy game. Not an easy game unless Chelsea turn up like they did against Arsenal. Olympiacos in the Cup, sandwiched between Brighton. And then Liverpool at home and Palace away. And Palace are playing very well. That's a hard place to go. Liverpool will be tough. Brighton can be tough, depends if they get the first goal. And Chelsea can be tough. On the flip side, Spurs, Arsenal at home. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. Chelsea away, again, very similar. Depends what Chelsea turn up, but I think we all agree it'll be their cup final. So they will turn up for it. Liverpool away, Burnley should win that. Sheffield United should win that. City always win that. No problems with that.
Easiest of the year.
How many points do you see us getting from those remaining 6 fixtures?
I see us getting around, if I have my math correct, around 11. Is that right? 3 from Sheffield. I'm going to say 1 from City, 3 from Burnley. I think that would be 7. And then I said 4 from the other 3 fixtures there. So I think we'll go for 11 points. And that's me going happy clapper here, going more conservative maybe than I usually do on this Friday night. When it comes to Villa, though, when I look at those last 2 fixtures,
that's 71 points, right? So go on then.
It's not as doom and gloom as some people seem to make it out, that we're going to lose every single of the rest of our games, which I think is a little bit of a stretch. The one thing I have gotten annoyed by is everyone seems to think we're going to lose every single one of the rest of our games, and Man United are going to somehow win all the rest of theirs, as if nothing could, it's like let's just ignore every bit of evidence and every bit of trends that we've seen from either team this season. But yeah, I think our position in 5th, for the most part, is pretty secure. It's just that Liverpool and Crystal Palace at the end of the season, like you could see Villa actually coming up with donuts in those 2 games. Liverpool at home, like you said, if Klopp isn't, if he's covered up his tears by then and they want to just sort of ride out, a few extra wins, and at least enjoy themselves while he's still there. They could get a win. And then Crystal Palace, too, like away from home, like that's not going to be an easy place for them last game of the season because they're at the beach. They're smashing teams right now. So I could see them, losing that as well. So there is a chance that if we pick up enough points and they lose their last 2 games, you never know.
So you've got a bit of belief now. So how many points are you calling that for Villa?
Sounds like we're going to win all the rest of our games the way that I've just ruled it out. So I think we're going to finish above Liverpool.
So come on then.
I say they get 6. I'm going to go for it. They get 6.
They get 6. So they still finish above us, Jack.
Yeah.
We're 11. So, on that basis, that's not great, is it?
My math is not good.
It was fun when it lasted. You were supposed to make that, if you're watching, we rehearsed this beforehand, obviously, and it was supposed to be that we just pipped them. But Jack got his math wrong. That's how you Americans say it, math. However, there we go. Premier League, Big 6 head-to-head table. God, that's a mouthful. So we are 4th on that. But we've only played 6. So the opportunity to move up the league this weekend. Yeah.
You did just quickly remind me of if anyone's on the social medias, there's a French teacher, a British French teacher who lives in France, and he's teaching young French students English, but he teaches them in 2 accents. And the way that he goes between an American accent for certain words and a British one for plenty of words is absolutely amazing. The way that he has to dumb down his voice and monotone himself for every single word is terrific. If anyone's seen that video, it is worth watching.
I mean, Spurs being Spurs, right? We'll beat Arsenal, we'll beat Chelsea, we'll beat Liverpool, but we'll lose to Burnley, draw with City, and lose to Sheffield United, right? That'll be the. It'll be all the. Oh, thank God, we're through all the tough fixtures. We've just got City to come, and Burnley and Sheffield are a bye. No. Oh wow! Look at this. HG says hi from a Viennese nightclub. Yeah, you can read the rest yourself. But all I would say is, HG, lovely to hear from you. The thought of you in a nightclub, if I'm honest, is pretty scary. This is 2 weeks on the bounce. It's becoming a habit. Just remember what you were like in the 90s. Come on, man.
Hab ein Spaß Nacht.
I don't know what you just said. Have a good night.
Have a fun night, exactly.
There you go.
Feel Glück, with your nightclub adventures. Lots of luck.
So, probability ratings. So they basically think, Opta basically think we're nailed on for the Europa League. They think that Man City. Here's an interesting one for you, right? I don't know how they work this out, but it is what it is. It's more certain, according to them, that Manchester City are going to win the title. Bearing in mind they're behind and would only be 1 point ahead, 2 points ahead, 1 point ahead. It's more certain that they're going to win the league that we're going to get Europa. How? How?
I haven't looked at Man City's schedule, but I guess they're just assuming that Man City are just going to steamroll past everyone, bar us, in the last games of the season. And I think there must be an expectancy that Spurs will take some points off of Arsenal, whether it's 2 points or whether it's all 3. There's maybe some sort of expectation that we won't just completely roll over for Arsenal and we will grab something off of them. And the moment we do that, I think we are already handing the title over to City.
So boringly, we are currently 5th and are predicted to finish 5th. Villa, 71% chance of UCL. I'd love them to mess it up, Villa. They're a bit up themselves these days, to be honest, some of the Villa fans I work with. And we did put their tail between their legs. When we beat them 4-0, it was like, the momentum swung. It's all Spurs' way. It's amazing how quickly that can change.
It's annoying because I think both times we actually should have beaten them this season. Even the fixture at home, we really outplayed them. They just got very lucky, and we, as always, don't take our chances. And we got punished for that. I mean, rightfully so. But I think we really did play. I wish we actually got to play Villa most games this year because I think we would have had a lot more convincing 4-0s and 3-0s that we would have expected under Ange, because I think both times we really did have their number. So they're probably quite lucky in that sense that they don't have to play us all the time.
I think Villa have massively overperformed. I think Emery's done a fantastic job, and I think they've massively overperformed versus the level of talent they have at the club. Yeah, they've got some very good players, but they've got some incredibly mediocre players who are playing at a really high level. It's a bit like when Poch turned Danny Rose from a joke into an England fullback, right? And then he went back to being a joke again under Jose. And I'm not being harsh on Danny Rose. That's just facts, right? Them's the facts. He was not good. He was
Harry Winks, Eric Dyer, the same.
Exactly. Well, Eric Dyer. See that here we go. Here we go. Right.
Sorry,
Eric Dyer. Very hard done to by the Spurs fans. Very hard done to. Guess what? He's doing a great job at Bayern.
I don't even think Eric Dyer is hard done to. I feel like there was more of a farewell for Eric Dyer leaving than there was for Harry Kane. I mean, like, more people are now rooting for Bayern to win now that Eric Dyer's on Bayern than even now when Harry Kane joined Bayern. Like, I feel like actually more Spurs fans liked Eric Dyer than they actually liked Harry Kane. That's my theory.
I'm not sure.
So I think Eric Dyer wasn't as hated as people think. It's just the Eric Dyer haters might have been louder.
As is often the way, Jack. What's your prediction then for the North London derby? What's the score going to be?
I've heard the 1-1 and the 2-2 banded about, and that one did perk my ears. I'm going to go for the 2-2. The Desmond. I could see the goals. It's just that, like, us to pick up 3 points, I would be over the moon. Just because they're a very good team this year. I think we're a good team. We're just not at their level yet, and they've been that sort of. They were us when we were under Conte, where everybody was saying, well, they're getting the job done. They're getting over the line. Eventually,
aren't they good to watch? Aren't they good to watch?
But they ended up doing what everybody predicted that Conte team was going to do, where things were going to kind of, just the results were just going to keep on coming. And then, the cliche lines were going to prove themselves right. And we actually ended up capitulating, and it ended up being the opposite. But Arsenal were like that Conte team, I feel like, where nothing was that convincing. They were just getting over the line. And now here they are at the tail end of the season with a very good defensive record to show for. I'm going to say 2-2 just because these form goes out the window. Spurs should definitely not let, a bad result like the Newcastle one happen again. And you'd like to think that, like you said, there are certain areas in that Arsenal team that can be got at. And we played really well against them in the early stage of this season. And if we can play anywhere similar to that, I mean, yeah, we'll give them a good game. And if we give them a close performance to what we did in the first time we met, I'd say another 2-2. And Richarlison back in the team, I think, is a huge help for us. A huge help.
I actually think I think he's much maligned, but I think he's done a decent job this year. Yeah, for me, this is tough. I can see it. Obviously, the obvious result is that Arsenal win, but that's boring. So let's go with the Spurs win. I'm going to tell you to believe. Summon the spirit of 91. Summon peak Conte era. We can absolutely do them. I think you're right. I think your analogy was quite good, because I think where Ange's at with the team is where Arteta was 2-3 years ago. He's trying to get them playing in a certain way and believe in that. And then but he's improved the quality massively every season. With 2 or 3 really good players. I mean, Declan Rice is world-class midfielder. Simple as that for me. I think they've spent really well, and they've spent big when they needed to. And that's what we need to do to back Ange if he's going to build a side that can compete for the league. And with there being a bit of a power vacuum in Liverpool, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Especially if I think that team is in the dying stages. I think Virgil van Dijk and Salah,
even Chelsea not being involved in the picture is very convenient for us.
Chelsea won't be back next year.
No, they won't.
Man United, if they stick with Ten Hag, they won't be back next year. So stick with Ten Hag, please. So I think it's interesting, and I think Ange has now got a year's development under his belt. He knows what he needs. We'll no doubt have some ins and outs over the summer, which will all be covered here on the Cheese Room podcast. The podcasts are available. And I think, I think it's interesting, and I think Ange has now got a year's development under his belt. He knows what he needs. We'll no doubt have some ins and outs over the summer, which will all be covered here on the Cheese Room podcast. The podcasts are available. And I think Ange has now got a year's development under his belt. He knows what he needs. We'll no doubt have some ins and outs over the summer, which will all be covered here on the Cheese Room podcast. The podcasts are available. And I'm stalling for time because I'm thinking, what's the score going to be? I'm going to go for a 3-2 Spurs. 3-2 Spurs.
I've heard that one as well. Yeah, that one's common.
I just think there's going to be goals galore. I think the crowd are going to play a massive part. I wouldn't be surprised to see a red card on either side.
Yeah.
Because I think they've both got it in. You know, we saw that when we turned them over 3-0. There was a red card in that game, wasn't there? Sonny got taken out by one of the defenders. I can't remember who it was. So
I really want it to be Gabriel who gets a red card because I think he gets away with so much. He's a very good player, but he gets away with so much, in my opinion. Like, I watched that guy elbow guys in the head intentionally on camera, and they somehow will still look past it. He could break someone's neck, I feel like, in a game, but they still will overlook it and rule it out by VAR. It's just, I'm blown away with what that guy gets away with.
My wish list is Saka gets limps off early doors. And Saliba gets a red card because I think he's really good.
Yeah,
he's really aggressive. He's very aggressive as well. So if you make him miss time something, it could happen. So yeah, I'm saying 3-2 to the Spurs, and let us know your predictions in the chat. I'm going to quickly go through these weekend fixtures. West Ham, Liverpool. Jack, how's it going?
Liverpool, you'd hope win. West Ham are. I think they're probably kicking David Moyes out pretty soon. Liverpool win.
I thought he'd signed it was being offered a new contract.
I'm not sure. It's just I think West Ham are terrible, so I'd say Liverpool win.
And yet they're nearly as high as Man United. Fulham versus Crystal Palace.
Oh, that's a great game between teams on the beach. I'd actually love to watch that game tomorrow. Fulham, Crystal Palace win again.
I'd agree with that. Man United, Burnley. Come on, Burnley.
That's another kind of great game for just bad football. Burnley draw.
That'd be beautiful. Newcastle versus Sheffield United.
Newcastle win.
Wolves, Luton.
Gary O'Neill, my favorite. But it's the battle of the two managers who are better than Gareth Southgate, both English managers, Gary O'Neill and Rob Edwards.
I mean, I'm a better manager than Gareth Southgate. Let's be honest, and I'm English.
You could throw an American in there.
Yeah, that's what you in there, Jack. You know,
get Jesse Marsh in.
How we ended up with that clown, I don't know. Anyway,
Gary O'Neill side pull up a 1-0.
Everton, fresh off their Merseyside derby victory.
Set piece derby as well. Get it launched derby. This is the get it launched derby. Everton win. They ride on the
get
good
it
vibes.
Launched. Not sure, gosh.
Get it launched. Not that long.
And Villa Chelsea. I mean, I don't want to know what you. I mean, this is a hard game because I hate Chelsea, but I'm going to say Chelsea are going to win this for me.
Yeah, I could see Cole Palmer winning this one for them. It's hard to call them Chelsea. They are just Cole Palmer. Yeah, so it's Cole Palmer FC. So if he shows up, great.
Very few people had heard of Cole Palmer before the start of the season. This is an absolute massive season for him. And
I was really a huge doubter of his.
I really hope that Chelsea have to sell him to ease their FFP.
I would love him. I don't even care if he's touched the Chelsea kid. Like, I was proven very wrong about him. I thought he just rubbed me off the wrong way. Just, the cut of his jib, as maybe some people say, just kind of rubbed me off the wrong way. I kind of didn't like his face. But yeah, he's a very good player. He's very good at football. And I'd love to have him. I think, again, another player that's doing everything that Maddison isn't right now.
Bournemouth, Brighton. Seaside derby.
Yeah, seaside derby. I would love to visit either one of those seaside towns, but that's a hard one because Brighton aren't very good right now. I say it's a draw.
Okay. And Forest versus Seta.
That's another tough one. City win. Forest decide against another press release.
Wise, I would say. Very wise.
They'll wait for the next game afterwards against a better opponent to do another one.
So there you go. So look, that takes us to an hour. Jack, thank you for joining me for a whistle-stop tour of the North London derby. Let's see what happens with your Desmond on Sunday.
Yeah, appreciate it. Hopefully we last the hour, and by this stage of the match, we're finding ourselves in that comfortable 2-0 winning position, or whatever you went for. 3-2. Yeah, let's hope that we find ourselves 3-2 after an hour up.
3-2, but then I thought to myself, there's not very many games we actually score over 2 goals. So yeah, be interesting. But
what if we saved all of our clean sheets up for this game?
It's been lovely to be back and share this moment with you. I'm looking forward to North London derby on Sunday. I know we can do it. You know we can do it. We just need to do it. Come on, you Spurs.
Inspiring words. Come on, you Spurs. See you every.